tonight as we all join the family of the late Christian Atsu, Ghanaian winger, to bid him farewell. We look back at his impact and also the many lives that he touched, and the story of the Ghana Prison Service, where he took care of many, many people. And the ace broadcaster, KKD, is live with us here on Ghana Tonight. Stay with us. He's reacting to the news of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation's decision to ban him. We'll give you details of what he has to say. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. He joins us in studio live for some of the details that you never knew. Also, we will get into the happenings at the Golden Star WhatsApp mine attack, the latest coming through from the company. We'll get through to the head of public affairs of the Golden Star WhatsApp to give us details of exactly what led to this attack not too long ago. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. We have views and comments as well coming up here, and you are an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and Twitter. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs. Leadership of the Kijita market traders are vehemently opposing a decision by the local government ministry to extend an initial 3-day period of the market shutdown. According to the market leaders, the affected part is less than 5% of the market. Hence, any effort to probe into the fire incident should not deny other traders from conducting their activities, which are far from the fire scene.
We are anticipating that the greater part of the market, which the fire did not affect, will be open to the general public, and the cordon off the place that was affected.
And yet, baby, affected.
Not all the market facility was affected by the fire. Authorities should rather close the affected area and allow traders who are not affected to ply their trading activities. We will not agree to an extension of a shutdown because already people are losing out.
The police administration has set up 2 different committees to further investigate the alleged killing of a 27-year-old man in the Upper West Regional Capital, Wa. Director General of the Police Administration, Christian Yohunu, led a high-powered delegation to visit the bereaved family of Shahid Abubakar.
We have come as a follow-up to all this to sympathize with you for the loss. This shows that we are not taking this incident lightly at all. You people have given us a uniform. We should work to protect life and property. In the course of our work, where we go wrong, we will come back and say we are wrong and we are sorry. We plead with them that they should hold their hearts and let us wait for these 2 special teams that have come to investigate what happened.
A collation of ideas from some citizens by the National Commission for Civic Education reveals that Ghanaians want a 1-term of 8 years president. Chairman of the Commission, Kathleen Addy, who made this known at the Constitutional Review Seminar, noted that the views are being analyzed as part of a broader consultation for constitutional amendment.
The 4-year 1-term period for a president should rather be made 8 years for 1 term. Every government is essentially aspiring for a second term. Most governments do a good job in their first term, build up, strengthen the economy, but in their bid to secure a second term, end up overspending.
The Bank of Ghana has engaged the Ghana Air Force on the possibility of airlifting currencies to some of its regional offices in the country. This follows the accident of a Bank of Ghana bullion van in November 2019 in Techiman in the Bono East region. The engagement with the Air Force led to the signing of a memorandum of understanding which made the Air Force to commence the airlifting of currencies from Accra to Tamale in late 2020. After a successful lifting of currencies via the Tamale-Accra route, the 2 institutions began ways of extending the services to other regional offices. The Ghana Air Force, in collaboration with the 48th Engineer Regiment of the Ghana Armed Forces, has constructed and handed over a helipad to the bank at its regional office at Sefwi-Boakong in the Western North region. The helipad is expected to boost the bank's currency movement operations to the western part of the country by airlifting currencies from Accra to Sefwi-Boakong. When you go on 3news.com, you find more stories. That's on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. We'll give you details of these and more. But right after this quick break, we have two things. Tonight, KKD is with us in the studio to talk about a number of issues, the latest being the reactions to that decision by the state broadcaster. We'll get you some details and how things are playing out. Also, the Ghana Prison Service have their own special tribute for the late Christian Atsu, and we'll tell you why right after this quick break. Stay with us. This is Ghana Tonight. We will be back shortly.
It was the beginning of a lonely journey of a football star. Echoes of tributes, kind messages and genuine outpouring of love at the forecourt of a state house. Many Ghanaians came out to send home one of their illustrious sons, for his impact and reach was beyond football.
Atsu's death is still very hard to process. We have a lot of questions. Still trying to understand, but my heart goes out to his family, especially his children. And I'm very grateful that he got, a funeral like this to celebrate his life, because he really lived a remarkable life.
For his wife, Marie-Claire Rupuyo, a part of her died with the late footballer on February 6.
In life, I love you, darling. In death, I do the same. It breaks my heart to lose you. You did not go alone, for part of me went with you. Your love is still my guide, and though I cannot see you, you are always on my side.
Even though too young to probably know exactly what the death of their father means, children of a late ex-Chelsea, Newcastle, Bournemouth and Everton star remember him for his warmth and care.
Well, so even though there were tears there because of the absence of Christian Atsu, there were many, many as well who celebrated the impact that he had on their lives. That was Marie-Claire Rupuyo. That's the wife of Christian Atsu, who obviously couldn't hold back her tears. And as we continue to wish his soul to rest in perfect peace. But his life touched many. His good deeds and benevolence also changed many lives. And that's what we celebrate, as well as we mourn his departure. This is the story of an ex-convict who benefited from Christian Atsu's life, a short period that he spent on earth. My colleague Yalfosu Labi interacted with this ex-convict. He tells us a bit about his experience with Christian Atsu.
Mark Mensah treks the streets of Accra selling his wares every day. He is mostly on the western stretch of the capital, along the Accra-Cape Coast Highway. He meanders through the vehicles and traffic just to find one person, or maybe two, to buy his wares. This was not his life before, but he prefers it to his previous life in prison. Mark was a young man living in a palm and selling drugs before he was nabbed by the police and sentenced to 4 years in prison. He served the full term before he met Christian Atsu.
Getting released from prison and reintegrating back into society is always a big task. But it was Christian Atsu's dream and vision to help many of these prisoners and ex-convicts get back into society the best way possible. Mark is a living example of this. Through Christian Atsu's reintegration process, he's been able to make a living for himself after he was released from prison in 2019.
Atsu collaborated with the Crime Check Foundation to reintegrate ex-convicts, decongest prisons, and reduce recidivism. In Mark's case, it was the late footballer who provided for him to start up a new life as a free man.
Christian Atsu's passing made me cry. I was very sad because Atsu is the reason why I am in Accra. Atsu is the reason why I have a place to stay.
That's the impact story of Christian Atsu, the man we celebrate today as we mourn as well and look back as his 31 years on earth and how impactful it was. Chief Superintendent of the Ghana Prison Service, Vitalis Aye, is with us in the studio. He's also the Chief Public Relations Officer of the Prison Service. Vitalis, thank you so much for joining us on Ghana Tonight. Now, we've been showing and interacting with people, but for you as a service, you have a life with Christian Atsu. Tell me, beyond what we saw, how did he impact on the Ghana Police Service? I mean, the Ghana Prison Service.
Thank you, Akansi, once again, and good evening to your cherished viewers. Christian Atsu is a name in the prison service that people wish will not go away among inmates and prison officers. The impact he has had on inmates is so huge. Christian came to prisons through a foundation by a prison's ambassador called Ibrahim Kwatin, who brought him in because of what we did with Ibrahim on the score of inmates getting sentenced, petty offenses they can't pay, and he came in to support.
Right.
In fact, in less than 2 years, Christian has been able to pay for the fines of 113 inmates, 79 of these ones male, and the others female.
He paid for the fines
Yes.
of 113 inmates.
113 inmates. They were sentenced by the law courts to either pay a fine or go in for this number of years.
And he paid the fines.
He paid their fines.
And so
freed them.
They're set free.
Yes. That is not all. After paying fines, he settled some of them. He gave them startup capital to start their own businesses so they don't come back to prisons, what we call recidivism. Because mostly somebody is freed from prison, he goes home and he has no shoulder to lean on.
Indeed.
He learns a trade in prison, he gets home and nothing to start a business with. So they relapse and they come back to jail. I just saw that as something that was disturbing. So if he pays your fine, he tries to give you something to go and start a business that will not let you come back to prisons. Just as you showed somebody selling things on the streets. One of the beneficiaries of Atsu's magnanimity as a footballer, he didn't stop there. Atsu used to come into the prisons and play football with the inmates.
He used to play football with the inmates?
Yes. He would bring other partners to play. He bought them jerseys because in the prisons, one of the best ways to make sure they're calm is to give them entertainment, to give them something to do.
True.
You get up and then there's nothing to do. You can be agitated. Atsu found a window through that.
In fact, I was part of the group that made a donation to the inmates at the Insuon maximum prisons, and we saw the talent, the football talent in there.
Yes.
You have very great footballers in the prisons.
And I think that's where he was coming to. I'm sure he was trying to get talents that he could support if they get out.
Right.
And we have a good number of them. In fact, every day these inmates are playing ball. Some were very energetic. In fact, very energetic. They are still.
I see. And I understand you actually organized a football match in his honor this week?
In fact, yesterday,
there
was a memorial church service for him by the Nsawan male prisons. It was packed. inmates were very emotional. And afterwards, it was crowned with a gala, a football match between the officers and the inmates in honor of Christian Atsu. They actually wore the jerseys Atsu bought for them in the prisons.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
And so apart from these 113 that he actually paid their fines and freed them virtually,
yes,
there are others that he had helped over the period as well?
Over the period, there was an old lady female prisoner that was suffering from a very chronic disease that nobody could take care of. Atsu took him to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. He paid everything. Unfortunately, we lost that female prisoner, that old lady. We lost her. But she actually did everything to ensure that she got back her health.
Wow.
Atsu has gone to the Otu Camp prison. He has gone to grade their playing field and has sent them food a couple of times on occasions. Maybe during Christmas, Ramadan, to feed all the prisoners there. Imagine hundreds of prisoners actually feeding them on occasions. He didn't really stop there. He did so much. And that also includes finding more jobs. One particular prisoner that got discharged, he bought him a drill machine.
A drill machine?
Yes. As a business to start with.
Wow.
This is a lot Atsu has done.
You see, let me say that Chief Kwesiche Dakwa, KKD, is also going to be joining us shortly in studio. He has a few thoughts as well to share on this and how Christian Atsu impacted on the lives of many people as well. But you indicated, I recall, that he advocated for the passage of the non-custodial bail.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So, non-custodial bill is something that has been in Parliament awaiting accent. Because what we see is most of the people that are sentenced, for example, somebody goes to steal banana because he's hungry and he's giving 3 months, 9 months, or a year to serve in prisons. We think that if there is non-custodial bill, this person can just be asked to sweep the streets of Accra to make Ghana clean.
I see.
Instead of going inside. And Atsu, when he started seeing those fines he was paying, he said that if this bill is in place, if it is activated and it's working, it means these people will not come to prison.
True.
One, they will be beneficial to society by cleaning or doing something minor, petty. I mean, something very small.
So, so they'll do community service.
Community service.
Instead of going
into prison. So he started talking about it seriously and was trying to go places with it, if he could influence, even internationally, to ensure that the system works and brings in this non-custodial sentencing. It's in the process, but of course, you know that our system can be a bit slow.
True.
So it's in Parliament, awaiting accent. Atsu picked that up and tried an advocacy to ensure that this bill is passed to actually stop the needless coming in of prison by people who...
We have an overcrowded prison, is it not?
That is it.
That's the picture of the various prisons across the country.
Yes.
It's overcrowded.
Overcrowded. So if Nsawam is supposed to take 800 people, it's taking 3,400 as we speak.
So that's the current population in Nsawam?
Yes, that's it.
3,400 inmates. As against
800
the 800
capacity.
The capacity that it was
officially
built
it was
to
built
take.
for, yes.
How are you coping? I mean, that's about 4 times
this
the capacity.
So that is where we keep appealing to people, organizations, NGOs to come to our aid. Where Atsu has come in, where the Church of Pentecost has come in to also, they started building, at least they built 2 prisons for us. One in Sawam there, and the other at Ejura. One more is about 80% complete at Damango. The 4th is in Obuasi, almost complete. All of this is just to help decongest the prisons. And that's what Atsu started doing by paying the fines of inmates, petty offenses that are not so much of a threat. The man is just hungry and he's told us that's an offense.
So what are the urgent things that you need? I mean, as a service. So Atsu is gone now, but I'm sure there are very benevolent individuals out there, and even some of his colleague footballers as well, who might want to continue his legacy. So talk to them.
So I want just to say that they should look at what Atsu has done. Atsu is gone. They went and buried Atsu today, but his name, his legacy will live forever. So anybody who didn't know that this is what was happening to us as a service, happening to Ghanaians, and they've seen what Atsu has done and what is being said about him, please come on board. Don't let this thing pass, because if you love this country, the people in there are your neighbors tomorrow. Indeed. So we always pray that they should come back reformed. Otherwise, you think you have done them. It's a dustbin. They will go. They won't die there. They will come back.
Indeed. Wow.
So let's help reform the prisoners by giving them the support they need. They come back to society as our neighbors that we can stay with.
So they can come to you, the Ghana Prison Service, with all the help and the support. And then the Correctional Institute as well.
Yes.
That's where they're under 18, that the juvenile.
The Juvenile Correctional Center.
That's around the Jowulu area.
Yes.
Okay, you get that. What was the youngest there?
The youngest, well, we take from 8 up to 13.
So you have an 8-year-old?
No, not 8, 13 up to 17, yes.
Wow. They need all the help.
They need all the help you can think of.
Vitalis, thank you so much
most
for
welcome.
coming. And you know, the beauty about Christian Atsu's impact is that he was doing it on the quiet. I mean, after his death, that's when we're getting to know all these things that he's done for you. So all the best to you. In fact, we're just getting messages from some of our viewers that they are coming through to help you as well. We can't mention names, but we just hope that you carry through these messages you've sent to us. So Vitalis, I thank you so much for coming. Chief Superintendent of Ghana Prison Service. He's the head of the Public Relations Department of the Ghana Prison Service as well. Vitalis, appreciate it. We have some of your messages as well. I put those that's comments on the screen shortly, so that you also get to hear what many of you have been talking about. We'll go for this quick break. When we're back, Billy Shen is with 3 Sports as well, and she's been detailing some of the reactions after Christian Atsu's final journey today. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Well, there you have it as we continue to mourn and celebrate, as a matter of fact, the impact of Christian Atsu. As well, the football world has also been reacting to his final journey to eternity today. Billy Shen is with 3 Sports. He's with me in studio. And Ken Kwesiche Dakwa, Managing Director of the Finest Media, Brands and Culture Limited and Heritage Apparel, founder of the Che Dakwa Foundation for Culture and Communication, a not-for-profit organization for training and mentorship in culture, public communication, brand building and corporate and social etiquette, a consummate media professional, brand architect and culture and tourism promoter. King Kwesi Che Dakwa is an ace broadcaster, set the pace for many to also follow in the stead. At age 15, he was the youngest employee of GTV. You can imagine. Yeah. King Kwesi Che Dakwa, thank you so much for joining us on Ghana Tonight.
How are you, my brother?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good.
You look
very
royal,
good.
as always.
Oh, it's just work clothes today. I prefer to wear my cloth these days, but sometimes for some work meetings, you have to put on a suit.
Absolutely. It's good to have you. Staying up, joining us at this time.
In death, we have seen how great a man was in life. You know, because so many people only give when it's public.
Indeed.
And this man has impacted so many lives in a very quiet way. And in death, we see that he towers above many with much more cash in the bank than him. Christian Atsu is really a great man. And he will be remembered more because of his humanity than even his football. He's a great man indeed. May his soul rest in peace.
And indeed. And that's the chorus that many of you are singing. And we'll just put some of the messages we've been getting from you, our viewers, on our Facebook page. Just TV3 Ghana on Facebook. And some of you also, in anticipation of King KKD joining us, also sent a few messages. Take a look at this. This was a quote from Christian Atsu's wife. This is it. It says, in life, I love you dearly. In death, I do the same. It breaks my heart to lose you. You did not go alone, but part of me went with you.
Oh.
That's the wife of Christian Atsu. Take a look as well at others. And this is the sports minister, Mustafa Yusuf, as well. Talking about his career. And the children of Christian Atsu, heartbreaking indeed as well. And then his siblings, Mubarak Wakaso, also had a few things to share with him. And Bill, how is the football world? This is his twin sister. And, you know, many people didn't know that Atsu was a twin as well to his death. But how's the football world been reacting to his final journey?
Sad, really. Really, really sad. I mean, a lot of the messages that have come in because of Atsu have been that of sadness, because they saw what he did on the pitch. You do remember that in 2015, he was the AFCON Footballer of the Year for his impressive performances there. He took Ghana to the final of that competition, scored 3 goals, was one of the top scorers, also best player. I mean, we saw him dazzle on that stage in football. Right. We saw what he could do with his left foot. He was once called the Ghanaian Messi. And I mean, when I asked his family about it and what is going to happen now that he's gone, they were like, I mean, we can never tell, because that was a plan that was set by him, and he was looking forward to executing it. And that's the kind of guy that we've come to see. And it wasn't even in the limelight until I asked around and got his information. So he really had a golden heart. People said he is an angel on earth, and I do believe he was an angel on earth before he, passed on. And I'm really saddened by this.
Bill, thank you so much for providing this perspective. Really appreciate it. And King, you know what? He's stepping into areas where you would expect that government, which has the resources of the state, of the people, as a matter of fact, would step in to do and meet those responsibilities. For instance, what he's doing for the prisoners. The state is building a cathedral, and the church is building the prisons. And then Christian Atsu has to do this. Yes, benevolence, but what's the, you see the disconnect there? And I just want us to make sense of everything.
The state is building a cathedral and the church is fixing the prisons. Well, I think it's just the way it is. Wherever you go in the world, if the state does right, then the individuals can put their money to whatever charities they choose. But when the state fails, then individuals who have humanity in them and who have some sense of self-worth and dignity and self-esteem will look after people. I think that's just the way it is. We're all looking after people in our own quiet ways.
That's right.
I mean, people are going to hospital for chemotherapy who we have to help with. I mean, people who are have children who are ill, who have, crooked legs that need straightening that we have to help with, and everybody's doing their bits. But it saddens you that you have voted for people to come and do something with whatever finances the state has, and people think more of their selfishness and greed than looking after the people that they claim they want to lead. Very, very heartbreaking.
But what has to give? Because it cannot be business as usual. We cannot continue to do the same things and expect different results. So the Ghanaian people queue, vote for a particular person based on the promises the person makes to them, and then the person comes to power, uses the people's resources to fulfill the said promises that were made by him or her. And even when they mess up and they fail, the people have to still pay for the mess.
Whenever I can sleep, I write. And this morning I wrote this. I said, can we encourage honesty and temperance? Can we discourage conflict of interest, selfishness and greed, especially in those charged to protect the public purse? Can we eliminate corruption, or at least stifle those who are bent on fleecing our nation once they are entrusted with power?
the public service broadcaster has a key role to play in all of these. Subtle and gentle sometimes, but other times robust and radical modifications of our culture for a truthful, dignified, peaceful, and progressive society. So really, I think it's something to do with our culture as well. Because, you know, people are so fanatic about political party that they are not even thinking of helping the country. They think, I have voted this person into power for my political party. He's going to help me get a job because he's from my political party. And if I can get a job for myself and a job for my child, that's enough. The rest of Ghana can go to waste. So really, it's not just the leaders we elect. It's the people who elect the leaders. And the fact that I keep explaining this over and over again, the people we have elected are to be our servant leaders. They are not to be our lords. Because in Akan, we say, they are our parents, our uncles and aunties, and our chiefs. But those we elect are our servants. The reason why we cover them, we give them all the comforts and luxuries in life is because we believe that they will do well by the people.
And constantly we've been disappointed. So what has to change?
And the worst in this particular time, the worst. Because I look at how much we have borrowed and I ask myself, why can't we show what we have done with what we have borrowed? Why can't we declare what we have done with COVID funds? And, you know, this will come down to GTV and their afterthought. It's actually an afterthought because GTV was never able to write to me to say, oh, you can't come here again. But once I mentioned it 2 days ago on Onia TV, immediately they put out a press release to say, actually, yeah, it's an afterthought. GTV has never communicated anything to me. My last program, yes, I started doing this Wednesday program in November 2021. And it was regular to the point where even when I went to travel to the UK, I wrote to them because that's the decent thing to do, that I'm going to be away for 3.5 weeks. So, and I wrote this like a month in advance. So you need to find a replacement. And then when I got back, whoever they had put in as the replacement, they put them aside, so I would continue. And I kept critiquing everything. I mean, I remember the roads minister saying something about how we're going to stop the tolls without going through Parliament.
Indeed.
And then later announcing that the toll booths were going to be converted into toilets.
Eventually,
and I said, oh, that's a shame. That's a brain fart. That doesn't sound like something that he thought through. Because how are people going to go into those toilets? Where are they going to walk into those toilets? With all the traffic going, you know, speeding by, are they going to go into hovercrafts and drop into the toilets? So that's a brain fart. But as soon as I talked about the stinking conflict of interest of a minister of finance who is a relative of the president, who takes our country to borrow, and every time we borrow and we get into debt, he becomes richer, then all hell broke loose. But I've sent some messages, you know, because I keep messages for business to your producer. And they're there, and you can put them on the screen. Because they were still talking to me, they were still asking me for advice and stuff. In fact, in January, one of the producers was virtually pleading with me to come back on air, and I didn't go.
With you?
Yeah, pleading with me to come back on air at GBC, and I didn't go because my thinking was, at the time when we were getting some momentum to stop the selfishness and greed in leadership, to stop this odious conflict of interest, the minute I spoke about it, pressure was born on you so that I couldn't speak. And then that momentum gradually dissipated. So why in January are you calling me back to speak when there are so many networks I can speak on? So only 2 days ago, as soon as I talked about it, that, look, because we talked about your selfishness and greed, you put pressure to bear on GBC to say, oh, you can't have KKD speak there again. Immediately, GBC puts out a press release. Oh, that's not the case. We had already done something because of.
So you see,
put your message out. So shameful. I look at some political appointees, and they have no shame. No shame. You've been appointed to do a job. You are doing your job. You're a good man. Somebody appointed you. They are putting pressure to bear on you. If you have some balls, you tell them, no, the man has done no wrong, because everything he said is true. So he has shown us the figures. The figures state categorically, this is what Oforiatta was borrowing, and this is what he was making. How does that happen? Where in the world does that happen? That the one who is the head of the family, who has a child in the family, who has cancer, who says we need to go and borrow money to take the child to hospital, goes to do a deal and ensures that whenever we borrow money to take the child to hospital for his cancer, he makes money. And we don't want to be outraged, and we don't have people who are wise and truthful and courageous to speak about it. And when I spoke about it, what happened? Parliament picked it up, and it was the first item they talked about in Parliament. So as for GTV, I love them. It is where I started my career. At 15, I wasn't an employee. At the time, I was producing commercials for private at 15. But at 17, I started as a guest artist only on Carla Jiman Bannerman's Solid Black. And at 19, I was fully employed there as a guest artist doing programs. And I became the top presenter there and throughout the nation and the top disc jockey in Africa. The point is, we have work to do. The government must do their work. But so too must the people in media. Watch the government do their work. When they get it right, we say kudos. But even if we don't say kudos, we pay them too well.
Indeed.
And when they get it wrong, we must tell them. Every one of us is a president in our household. And after we elect somebody to be president, we don't relinquish our positions in our households. And if people make good decisions, we say, well done. If they make bad decisions, like the toll booth thing, I talked about it on GTV. Go back on GTV and check all their programs on Wednesday from November 2021. You will hear KKD criticizing. And nearly every time I was on, I was the one most people were applauding. It's there. Nobody is challenging it.
These are the details of the statement. And just as I mentioned...
As you read, I'll respond to each one.
Yes.
Let's go.
It said, and that's what you see
Shameful
the screens. It says, this is public information. So the management of GBC operators of GTV taking note of a news item purported to be caused by Kwesiche Dakwa, who is with us in the studio, by the way, alleging that the government instructed GBC not to allow him to appear on GTV. If this statement is truly coming from Kwesiche Dakwa, it is coming from you, correct?
It is, of course.
They say that if it is truly coming from you, it would be unfortunate.
And a figment.
The claim is not true and can only be a product of your imagination.
Good.
Management of GBC wishes to put it on record that the corporation does not take instructions from the government.
Please.
When it comes to content production. You doubt that?
Please.
That's what the management
Please,
says.
we've had family run this country for some 19 years. We've had people in positions of authority. And let me tell you something. When people in government offices, whether there's a messenger of people in the presidency or whatever, give instructions to people, they don't send memos. They just make phone calls or send text messages. They want to do things that you cannot find out. Because truly, if it is not somebody who put pressure to bear on you, then who? Because it is the government that appoints you. And since the day I spoke about the Oforiatta stinking conflict of interest, till now, I haven't gone on GBC. But their staff have invited me, which means they haven't even had the decency, right, to even say in a memo to producers and heads of programs that, our dear senior colleague, Kwesiche Dakwa, will no longer. They've never done that. Because if they'd had, Why would, and we want to put those on TV, why would their producers still be inviting me to appear there to help lift their ratings?
There's a part of the statement that is quite interesting. It says,
Yeah.
put it back on the screen for me, please, would you?
Please.
It says, management is fully aware that it will be unlawful for government to determine who comes on our programs and platforms. GBC is guided by the ethics of public service broadcasting journalism.
That is wrong, and I'll tell you why. On one occasion, I watched as a program was cut short so that a minister could come over to try and explain something to do with their government policy. So if you say that the government cannot determine who comes on a program, when a minister has come over to disrupt a scheduled program, right? A scheduled program, that is government determining who comes on. So when they are writing this poppycock, they must understand that they are dealing with senior people in the work they are doing. I could be the Director General 10 years ago.
They do not allow their guests to make allegations against other persons who are not present.
Those are not allegations.
Or do not have the immediate opportunity to respond.
Alfred, when you have a minister, a finance minister, who borrows, and the figures are there, it's not allegations. It's there for all to see. Why is it that that is what we have discussed in this country since the day I put it out? It's not an allegation. It's the truth. And what has happened is that a political appointee has chosen the side of stinking selfishness and greed over truth that is uncovered for the nation to learn and do better.
So, in fact, the last but one, and I make specific references to this GBC statement for a reason, because obviously they need to be heard as well.
Yeah, of course.
And it says they provide opportunities to panelists of all political persuasions to speak on their platforms and may retire them when there is a change in the content plan. So that's what they want.
That is crap. But I'll tell you why that's crap. They haven't changed their synopsis. They haven't changed their synopsis.
They are retiring you
it's funny. You should look. You should put
a change in context.
Put some of the text messages on screen. The presenter congratulated me the day after the program. All their team congratulated me after the program. Go online and see their own comments. Somebody also ordered them to delete that program. Why wouldn't they delete the program when other people have been spoken about? But when a Minister of Finance is spoken about who is doing wrong by the nation, you think nobody should talk about it?
See, and
how is that?
This comes up, I say that, Parliament established this committee, the 8-member committee, to look into all of these allegations.
Funny. You see,
they came out and,
Alfred,
they
didn't
find
why the timing?
anything.
No. So, it's still on. It's still on.
So that commission that was set up, in fact, that 8-member committee, that was set up by Parliament.
It's a banana republic. It's a banana republic.
Against Ken Ofori-Atta.
Oh my God, this nation of ours. So really, you haven't changed the synopsis of your program. Look, my master's degree is in film and television production. I understand this enterprise better than most people at GBC today. I've had colleagues who have been there who are also brilliant at this, like David Ampofo, like Johnny, who became the director of TV, who's gone away. But the point is, I'm speaking about this not because of me, because I can go on social media and reach more people than I can on GBC. But I'm speaking about this because if we don't let it be known, we don't know who it will happen next to. After all, when I didn't go to GBC on that day, I went to Joy, and they got the highest viewership since they started, when I went there. And then I came to Onia, and Captain got his highest viewership when I came there on that day. He has beaten that now because I came again, and on that day Shatawale came, and we got an even higher viewership. So if it's about reach, it's not about GBC. I have a certain love for GBC because that is where I cut my teeth as a broadcaster. But if we are going to just appoint people who are going to act as though they were supine or spineless, then we will get to a point where we'll be repressing speech and we will have no freedom of speech. Because as for me, I will speak loudly about corruption. I don't know who is also going to speak loudly about extortion. and then that person too will be silenced. That is why I'm speaking. It's not for KKD. KKD will always speak truth. And I can speak this truth because I have never taken a bribe in my life.
You've never taken a bribe in your life?
All my life.
How do I get to know this?
Exactly. So you can check from everybody I have worked with and everywhere I've worked and ask every client who has worked with me or come to me. You know, people must... I don't drink, I don't smoke. You can easily get to know that too. You understand? So my point is, there are certain things that people want to say that they cannot say. Because like the Ashantis will say, they themselves have gone to take contracts which are criminal. So they can't talk about it.
King Kwesi Che Dakwa.
Oh,
thank
GBC.
you for coming.
I am so sad because professor there is a good man. Doctor, but the point is, pressure than also. And I don't need them. And they never told me they have stopped me.
We don't know. Let's look at the citizen of the week. Our citizen of the week. Our citizen of the week is Christian Atsu.
Oh, of course. Well deserved.
His impact, his love for humanity, and for supporting the underprivileged in society. That's Christian Atsu, our citizen of the week. May his soul continue to rest in perfect peace. King Kwesi Che Dakwa, thank you for coming.
My brother.
And also to you. Bill Eshen. Bill, thank you as always and for the great stuff that you're doing and telling the story of Christian Atsu in the best way possible. Appreciate it. And thank you as well for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. Join me tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for Key Point. I am Alfred Kansi. Have a good night.